Hello and welcome to the show. Now, buying at auction is a really exciting way of buying property.
Absolutely. In fact, over 17,000 lots were sold at auction last year.
And coming up in today's show, we'll be looking at 3 properties that will be sold that way.
So let's find out what happens to them. This flat is on the menu, but it might leave a nasty taste in your mouth. Or you might prefer this old house near Manchester, with lots of character features, but it could become a money pit.
Or if you want something to invest your money in, then these 2 flats outside Newcastle might be for you. And when you find out the guide price, you might be totally convinced.
And you bid at 450.
All these properties will be sold at auction today. We'll be finding out who buys them, what they pay for them, and what they're going to do with them when they go under the hammer.
We're in St Leonards-on-Sea, in East Sussex, popular with day trippers and people looking for weekend holiday retreats. But the property on offer will only suit certain people. So what have we got here then? Well, it's a 1-bedroom top-floor masonette in this grand Victorian building. Now, it's within walking distance from the town centre, and apparently when you're in the flat, you get great views of the sea. This early 20th century red brick building is a purpose-built block of flats with many intriguing original details. Property investors may have hit the jackpot over the last few years, but in my opinion, there's still some bargains to be had. I mean, look at this place. There really is a wealth of features here. You know, beautiful windows, you've got a lovely banister here with gorgeous spindles. It's just fantastic. But there's a downside. 4 flights of stairs and 70 steps. There's no lift. You definitely need to be fit to live here. The property is over 2 floors. Downstairs, the interestingly shaped living room. But water leak up there, along with various other problems. But you've got yourself a fantastic pad here. Look at that view. So the guide price of this flat is £45,000. I needed to speak to a local estate agent to check out the prices in the locality. Neil, I'm absolutely blown away by the beautiful features in this property. Now, you're a lettings agent. Tell me a little bit about the area.
This is central St Leonards, where we are at the moment. We've got Hastings College, which is just around the corner, literally, and we're well within walking distance of the seafront, which is 5 minutes away, just down the hill. So very, very popular indeed.
OK, now, what sort of let do you think you'll get on a property like this? Because, you know, I have to agree, it's just got phenomenal features, but it needs loads of work.
It does need
probably a lot of money
Yep.
spending on it.
Yep.
Who do you think will want to rent a property like this?
We are going to be limited. If we were to offer this property, it is going to be to a single person or a couple or a student let as well.
I have to say, it totally narrows the market down, because obviously I can't see any mothers with buggies and
No.
shopping wanting to walk up 4 flights of
But it
stairs.
is a 1-bedroom masonette at the end of the day.
What do people expect today to be in a new flat or in a flat that they're about to rent? You know, how high do the standards have to be?
They've changed dramatically in this area. Gone are the days where we used to offer properties in a bad condition and not necessarily they weren't safe, but we had a lot more of a select market. We used to deal with housing benefit. Nowadays it has changed. The actual whole market has been driven towards the professional people and the students. Yeah. So we're looking at new carpets in a property, a modern fitted kitchen with appliances. We're going to be looking at gas central heating, decent windows, so we can actually offer it to them people out there.
So gone are the days of walking around an old junk shop and furnishing your flat to let out. You know, people want stainless steel, you know,
exactly, they do,
hardwood floors now, don't they?
And they're the properties. I mean, us as a company, we're letting anything between 20 and 30 properties a month, but they are all of that high standard. If they're at that high standard and landlords start putting them at that high standard, they start seeing higher rents and they start seeing better tenants, less trouble, and that's what it's all about, really.
So the flat is probably a good lettings opportunity for someone, or could it make a nice weekend retreat? There's obviously lots of work to do here, as anyone can see. But there's also a problem that you can't see, which could seriously affect this flat's mortgageability. And it's the fact that this property is freehold.
The freehold actually is owned by the flat. Right, so there is no actual communal lease set up. Now the problems they're going to have is that it's on resale, because you cannot get a mortgage on a property with a freehold flat.
Why is that?
Problem being is that when you sell the freehold off, if you haven't set up a management company, then there is no actual contract between the lessees in the block to say whether the roof needs doing, who pays for it, the walls, the repointing. Therefore, a lot of people are just going to have to pay for it themselves.
So what sort of person do you think will be looking to possibly bid for this at auction?
It's got to be a buy-to-let investor. They've got to have the cash in the bank, though, and be willing to sit on it for quite a while to get the problem sorted out.
How much do you think an investor or anybody is going to need to spend on this property?
Right, well, to put this up to the standard which they would need to either rent out or resell, there's probably looking at about £17,000 to £20,000.
So would you say the reason this property's obviously gone to auction is because of that main factor?
Exactly right, yeah. Yeah, it would limit the amount of buyers I have within the offices to actually talk to. You can't sell it to first-time buyers need a mortgage, buy-to-let buyers are out the window as well. So it's really cash buyers that are willing to sit on this for a number of years and get the problem resolved.
So you think this will be a bad buy for some people, but for possibly an investor,
For the
this
right
could be a very good buy?
The right person, it could be a very good buy. But if you haven't got that money all the time behind you, then forget it.
Well, as we said, the guide price, £45,000 to £55,000. But let's find out what it actually goes for once it goes under the hammer.
Flat 4A Highland Mansions, a one-bedroom unit there on the 3rd and 4th floor.
The Highland Mansions won't be a problem to sell because we've factored into the price and the guide price that it is a freehold. Now, if it wasn't freehold, it would probably go for more money. But that's all part of the valuation. And if you get the price right, you'll get the buyers there.
It's a lovely prestigious block with good views.
Highland Mansions almost definitely is going to go to an investor or a speculator because it's a freehold flat. And freehold flats aren't quite as easy to get away with because they're not mortgageable.
Good flat, cheap price, £50,000 anywhere. Start me at 45 then. £45,000 to get me on the way. £45,000 I'm being obliged. £45,000 I'm on the way. 45. Now 48. A 48. A 48. £45,000 I've got. 48 if you like. 48 I've got. Now make it 50. £50,000. £50,000 in a fresh place at the back. Now 52 if you like. 52. £50,000 I've got sitting down at the back, and 52 I want from anybody else if you like. It's a good flat here at £52,000. £50,000 and I've got for the first time. £50,000 for the second time. 52 I'm obliged in a fresh place. 52. 54 now. 54. 54. It's with you, sir. 54. 56. 56. 56, 55, it says. 56 if you like. 56,000 if you like. It's against you at the back, sir. It's with the ladies and gentlemen sitting down at the front at 55,000. It's with you at 56, 57, 57, 57,000. Keep with it, don't give up. 57 I've got. 58 now if you like. 58. Or from anybody else if you like. But 58 I've got. 59, 59,000, 59,000. Have a think about it. At £58,000 at the back of the room for the first time. Don't give up on it. 59 if you like. At £58,000 for the second. 59 he says yes. Now make it 60. Still good value. £60,000. Yep, 60 I've got. Try again. He's shaking his head. £60,000 I've got in at the back for the first time. At £60,000 for the second. You might nearly have it, sir. £60,000 if you're sure you're done. The third and final time. Sold for 60,000. And your card number, please. That's 7714.
The freehold of flat 4A Highland Mansions eventually sold for £60,000 to Paul Kainada and Henry Tradgett. They're both property developers and they've worked together for about 2.5 years. This is the 9th property that they have bought together, and the others are all let out and earning money. Well, I'm back here to meet the boys, Paul and Henry. Now, what do you do and what do you do? You're like a sort of Laurel and Hardy team.
It's not a bad description, actually. I'm sort of hands-on. I run the actual project, organise the different trades, the materials, just the general everyday to-day running. That's my job.
And I tend to put the paperwork together, all the legal side, talk to solicitors, sort the mortgages out, that side of it, and and then we liaise somewhere along the middle.
And would you say you're a good team?
I think it works really well. I mean, we you know, when we originally set this up and started working together, I think we decided that it would work well, and so far we haven't really had too many problems, have we?
It's great that we've got a good understanding between us, and you know, Henry does that side of it and I do the other side, and it seems to work really well.
So what was it about this property that made you want to buy it at auction?
It's a very nice block. There's sort of 4 or 5 flats in here. They're privately owned, most of them. Architecturally, it's very nice. The hallway's very nice. The stairwell's lovely, and it's really got a good feeling here. You know, with the bedroom upstairs, and we could just see the potential here, couldn't we?
Yeah, we were very, very optimistic when we came in.
Yeah.
Now, talking of the staircase, a big down point for this flat.
Massive.
Massive down point. Is the stairs.
Well-
I'm reasonably fit, but you know.
He'll be in his office, as he always is, you know, pen to paper and all that, but it will be us guys that will be running up and down, and yeah,
Now, upstairs is absolutely fabulous. You've got the best view of the sea.
it's wonderful.
Does need a lot of work, though.
Yeah,
Should we go up and see what kind of stuff you're looking at doing? Yeah, come on then.
Okay.
Cheers.
Now, there is so much work to be... Look at the state of it!
Wonderful, isn't it?
Doesn't worry you then?
Not at all.
Right,
not at
okay,
all.
let's start from the beginning. So what do you think you're going to have to do to this room? It's a big mess.
First thing is we're going to have to fix the water problem on these dormers. These ones below have been repaired at some point, but obviously, as you can see, I don't think this one is in need of a restoration. So we're going to have to deal with that first from the outside, and then obviously re-plasterboard and plaster.
Now, as an expert, does it look worse than it is?
No, it needs somebody with a rope to get out there and do some work to it, which I shan't do.
Does that worry you, Mr. Moneyman?
No. It would do. We don't think we're going to have to go to the expense of scaffolding and everything like that. We've had a bit of a look into it, and we think we can do it
Obviously,
from inside, really.
Yeah, obviously that will have to be the first job to be done first in this room before we can start renovating these walls and ceilings.
Now, obviously, you've got huge works to do on this project, and, you know, you're always laughing. It doesn't seem to bother you. The good thing is that you do all the sums, you know, you can actually do all the work. Isn't there one huge problem with this property? It would worry me as a property developer, you know.
Yeah, there is the fact that it's a freehold
problem, isn't
flat, which is unusual, isn't it? It's a freehold flat, which I mean, we've bought freehold before, but we bought the block. But in this particular case, we bought one freehold flat, and a lot of lenders don't like that.
Because of the freehold situation, the boys did experience problems finding someone to lend them money on the flat. That's because the owners of the flats in this block have not formed a management company. This would cover costs of repairs to the main building and the common parts. They might have to try and sort that out, but first they definitely need to spend some money here. Right, and you've got a budget in your minds for what you're going to do and how much you're going to spend.
Yeah. Got the same budget?
Probably not. 10 to 15,000 maybe.
And what's your budget?
No.
No.
9 to 10.
No, seriously, what's your budget going to be now?
No, it will be that 10 to 15 grand bracket, won't it?
It'd be very nice if we could do 10, but it really depends on the dormer windows, which is going to be the main cost involved here. But the rest of it is, you know, it's very straightforward. So it's just keeping everything very tight, and hopefully we'll be around about 10.
Yeah, that's what we came in here and said about 10, but we're not totally sure what we've got to deal with up there yet. We've got an idea, but let's see what happens.
I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for you because I know you're passionate about this property.
Yeah.
I am as well. I really like it, honestly. I think it's fantastic. I love the views. I love the ceiling height. It's brilliant, and I really am excited to come back and see what you've done.
Okay.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to
Take
meet
care.
Nice to meet you.
Paul and Henry have agreed to set themselves a target of around 10 grand. I think that should be sufficient as long as they don't discover any hidden problems. But the freehold issue still worries me. We'll find out what happens when we come back to visit them later on in the show. This is Manchester, and the property I'm looking at is in an area called Didsbury, just outside the city. When you're buying a property, location is paramount. This is the prime location. It's a wonderful residential tree-lined road. It's right next to a park. And this splendid Edwardian property has 5 bedrooms packed full of beautiful original features. I mean, we've got the lovely cornicing up here, great deep skirting boards. Now, all you'd need in this room, really, is to get yourself an old Edwardian fireplace. You can pick that up at an old reclamation yard. I mean, it really, like this, I get really, really excited. The first thing I think of is of spending money, naturally. But what I should be thinking is, who is my market? Who am I going to be selling a property like this to? Now, a good thing to do would be speak to a local estate agent. They can tell you everything you need to know. What you don't want to do is end up spending more on the property, so it costs you more than it's worth. There are a number of options with this property. Should it remain as flats, or should it be converted back into a grand house again? I needed to find out some background, so I spoke to the selling agent.
Well, the current owner bought the whole property, including the piece of land at the back here, and he's currently trying to get planning permission to build a new house on that.
Right.
But he's decided that he wants to sell the existing house.
Which is this property here.
This one here. And because it's got a lot of potential, it's recently been divided into 3 flats, but it's also obviously got potential for one lovely big house.
Oh, it really has.
That's why we've decided to put it to auction, because we feel that there's likely to be a good demand and a good level of interest on the day.
Do you think it would ever be turned back into flats again?
I don't think so. I think because of the neighbourhood, the demand generally is for big substantial houses in this particular area. It's a very good spot.
Tell me about Didsbury.
Didsbury really in the last 4 or 5 years has become extremely popular in the South Manchester area. Prices have rocketed in this area, and there is a very good demand. Old Broadway is a very good spot as well. It's very highly regarded.
How much would a house be going for, let's say, opposite this one here?
Well, the one opposite actually is for sale at the moment, and I understand that a price has been agreed somewhere closer to 700,000 than 600, obviously in very good condition.
So go on, what guide price have you slapped on it?
Well, we've been talking 450, 500,
Right.
that sort of level. We're hoping to get something at the top end of that, but we'll see.
And who do you think will be the typical purchaser to get this property?
Well, it's a family house, isn't it? It's 3 stories plus cellars, so you've got the potential to get 6 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms out of it.
Well, it's all exciting stuff. If I had a spare 500 grand, I would be bidding for that. Thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.
And I can't wait to see what this is going to fetch at auction. This should be interesting. It's being sold just up the road in Knutsford, so let's see who buys it.
Lot number 3, ladies and gentlemen, 35 Old Broadway, Didsbury.
A very large semi-detached house, which has been occupied as 3 flats.
It occupies a superb position in a private road in a most sought-after residential area.
It's only half a mile from the very fashionable Didsbury village. Should sell well. It's a good location and bags of potential.
Now, the house has until recently been occupied as 3 flats, and there is a covenant now in the contract to state that the property has to be occupied as a single private dwelling house.
Ah, well, that is interesting. So whoever buys this house will have to convert it back into a single property. Will that affect the price, I wonder? Let's find out.
So £450,000 to start with. And you bid at 450.
What is wrong with them here? Don't they fancy this house?
450 and away. You should not be dwelling at this sort of figure. It's a wonderful opportunity. At 450.
Ooh, he's really struggling.
So £450,000 to 35 Old Broadway. Are we all done? Well, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I can't let it go at that. It's below my reserve. We're not far away, but do have a word with us afterwards, and we'll see if we can reach some agreement by private treaty afterwards.
Well, what a shock. I can't believe that no one in this room is interested in the house. The auctioneer has had to withdraw it because it didn't make its reserve price, so it won't be sold at auction. This is what that means.
About 15% of the properties that we put to auction don't hit their reserve, i.e. there aren't people in the room prepared to pay the minimum price that the owner wants to take. It could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe they're waiting for something else, and if they don't get it, then they come back to something else. But after the auction, they can come up and they can buy it at that reserve and they will sign an auction contract just as if they'd bought it under the hammer.
The reserve is the figure below which the property can't be sold, and that's always the client's decision. We give our advice, but ultimately it's the client's decision. And it's not meant to be the wouldn't it be lovely figure, it's the yeah, that's okay. That's what a reserve is for.
Generally speaking, the level of failure in an auction room is limited to probably between 10 and 15% of homes that fail to reach a reserve price. We do try and keep reserves and guide prices sensible. It goes a long way to attracting people to attend the auction, and then as an auctioneer you can work the room and try and build on the frenzy that may exist to certainly get the seller the very best price you can.
Well, there certainly was no frenzy for this property. This auction room is usually buzzing, but it wasn't all bad news. The house at Old Broadway did sell straight after the auction to a lady who negotiated with the auctioneer. Her name is Yasmin McDonald. She owns a local restaurant, and at the time of the auction, she was stuck in a traffic jam on the motorway.
By the time I reached there, the bidding had stopped.
Well, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I can't let it go at that. It's below my reserve. We're not far away.
And we were told that if we wanted it, then we were to negotiate with the solicitor and the seller, which we did do shortly after the auction.
So now I really couldn't wait for Yasmin to show me what she had in mind.
I'm so glad you like this, Lucy.
It's just fabulous proportions, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Lovely big windows.
Yes.
You see, it's fabulous.
So,
You've got
what do you think?
a lovely big hallway, haven't you?
Yes.
You always get
It's
these
nice
in big
proportions,
Edwardian
isn't it?
houses, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, let's take a look upstairs, shall we?
Okay.
Good staircase. I just adore the floors. It's just fantastic, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
So this room, what were you doing here?
This is going to be a study.
Right. I would have said that
Yes,
because it's
yes.
very light, isn't it? Very
That's right,
bright. You
yes.
can almost make this into another room.
Yes. But I'm going to block it off here.
Right.
And then leave that as a doorway. Actually put a door in so you've got privacy in a study.
You love it here, don't
Yes, I do. Like I said, I'm going to be loyal to this property as long as I make some profit, and I enjoy and love doing what I'm going to do.
Yasmin has employed professional help to get her plans sorted out for this extremely large house. Mike, you're the architect working on this project. Now, Yasmin has just shown me around her fabulous house. Why is it so important to get an architect on board at this stage?
Well, the number of things that need to be done in there need to be accurately done. In order to put bathrooms, kitchens, en suites, you need an accurate drawing to show how much you can get in and how much you can't. Rough sketches don't work, you must have an accurate drawing.
Okay. Now, she's got quite firm ideas of what she wants, and I'm sure you, as an architect, have the same. How do you both sort of, like, work it out?
Well, I listen to what she wants first, and she always wants the impossible, and we give her as much as we can that is possible, but she does really stick to her guns. If she wants something, she makes sure she gets it.
And just say you didn't agree with a certain thing, you know, how does it work for you as an architect?
You don't not disagree. The customer's always right, the client's always right, and usually Yasmin's right. She gets the ideas herself, and I think they always work out well.
Let's have a look at the drawings that you've done so far.
Oh,
Okay. Now, this is just of the ground floor, isn't it?
the ground floor and the first floor. Just
Okay.
only.
So now this is all of the rooms downstairs.
Mhm.
So tell me what she's planning on doing here.
Well, initially, the rear lounge is quite a large lounge on its own, but there is a wall between, and we're going to take down that wall there, support it above with RSJs and universal beams, and extend it to make it twice the size. This bathroom here, we're taking down that stud partition. We're going to rearrange and redesign the bathroom kitchen area, yet to be decided.
Well, it all looked very well planned. Yasmin is used to renovating property. This is the fantastic restaurant which she owns, and she designed it all herself, importing over 100 tons of marble and huge wooden pillars from Pakistan. She's a woman with big ideas. But you're no stranger to buying property at auction, are you?
No.
You've actually bought this very place at auction before.
Yes.
It's absolutely fabulous, isn't it?
Thank you.
You've got the most beautiful furniture. I was looking through a magazine earlier, and you can actually hire it out for magazine shoots, can't you?
Yes.
How did you come about buying the Old Broadway?
I just felt I was ready now to take on another project, and I looked around, and saw the old Broadway and thought, well, you know, it's convenient for me to get there to work on, and I just really enjoy buying old buildings and which are dilapidated and which have been ruined, and bringing them back to something which is worth admiring.
How much did you manage to purchase the old Broadway for?
Just over 500k.
And how much do you intend on spending on it?
It's going to be at least 80,000, but between 80 to 100,000.
Yasmin will have her work cut out to do the same standard of job on the old Broadway as she has done here at the restaurant. I was a bit concerned that she'd get carried away with it all. I love this window here.
Yes.
I mean, this is just absolutely fantastic.
It's good, isn't it? Yes, it's a lovely feature.
And the floorboards are beautiful. They're
They
all
are, aren't they?
strict
Yes.
floorboards everywhere. Do you think
Yes.
you're not obviously going to cover them with carpet?
No, they'll be stripped.
This room's amazing now. What I love about this is that, look, we can come out here onto the balcony. Now, I was talking to the agent and he thinks that you could get about 700 grand once this place is done up.
Oh, that's brilliant news for me.
Is that
It
something?
means I can go over my budget and still make a profit.
You know you're going to go over your budget.
I know.
Well, look, I cannot wait to come back. I would love to buy this off you, but I can't afford it. So thank you very much. It's been absolutely super meeting you. And I really wish you all the best with this project.
Thank you so much.
Good luck. I think Yasmin's heart might have ruled her head in this place, and I can't blame her. She's got carried away with all the lovely features here, and I bet she does blow that budget sky high. But then, so would I. We'll find out what actually does happen later in the programme.
Coming up, we'll be going to the Newcastle area to check out a pair of flats that don't look the best, but they could become a real little earner.
And we'll be going back to Manchester to find out how Yasmin has got on with her grand designs for that fabulous house in Didsbury. But first, it's back to East Sussex to see if Paul and Henry's list of jobs is getting done. We're back in St Leonards-on-Sea at Highland Mansions, this lovely turn-of-the-century purpose-built block of flats. Henry and Paul, two local property developers, bought a flat in this block for 60,000 quid at auction. They loved the classic architecture of the common parts. But the flat itself was a total wreck. It hadn't been lived in for a very long time. So they had their work cut out. But as soon as they started, they discovered this fabulous stained glass window, which had been hidden behind some boards.
As you come up the hallway, each individual flat has this lovely etched stained glass type window which would go into their hallway or their sitting room. Apparently they did cover it up because this flat was converted about 20 years ago, and in order for it to be passed with fire regs, they had to hardboard all the floors and block this lovely window up. It's great because you don't often find bits like this. Usually they've been ripped out and replaced, but I can't believe that something like this has been blocked up, you know. So that'll be a nice feature to the flat.
The other major job that they tackled was the kitchen, but it wasn't what I expected.
This used to be a sizable kitchen, or quite a big galley type kitchen with units down either side, and we've put this partition framework up and plasterboard and serrugated both sides. So now one side will be still a reasonable sized kitchen, and this side will be a second bedroom. So we've created an extra room.
So Paul and Henry have actually made a really small second bedroom out of half of the existing kitchen. I'm not convinced about this, and there are no windows here. I think it will be too dark for a bedroom.
This is the other side of the partition wall now. This will be our walk-in kitchen here. We'll probably have either an arch or a doorway onto this, and we'll have fitted units down here with wall units above. Sink will probably go back in the same place, and then we've got space for the cooker and the washing machine. So and obviously the walls and the ceiling will be replasterboarded and plastered. So there's quite a lot of work to be done in there, but it will be still a nice sized kitchen.
The rest of the lounge has now been stripped out and a doorway made into the new mini kitchen. I'm really not sure why they've cut that kitchen in two.
If this was left as a one-bedroom flat, renovated, it would probably only be worth 70, 75, but because we've altered a room and we've created an extra bedroom, it will value up for another 10, 15,000 more. So our valuation will now be sort of between 85 and 95.
Well, I'm still not sure about that second bedroom.
Existing bathroom, cast iron bath. We were going to clean it up and change the taps and leave it in place, but to be honest with you, it's so cheap nowadays to buy a complete bathroom set, so we're just going to rip the whole lot out and replace it. So there's not much in regards of plumbing work that needs to be done. The walls and the ceiling are in a bit of a state. There's a bit of plasterboarding that needs to be put into place, and then it's going to need plastering and retiling.
Led to believe it was 3 or 4 years, and so we're going to have to wire right down to the ground floor, which is, we're on the 5th floor, aren't we, I think?
5th floor, yeah.
It's quite a lot of wiring to do, so that's a little bit of a problem which we hadn't foreseen.
And that wasn't the only problem. They knew when they bought the flat that it was freehold, but they hadn't realised that there was no management company set up between the owners. This would cover all the general maintenance on the property.
From what we understand, that if there's no management company involved, then lenders don't like that. The risk factor to them is greater. They don't see the property as being looked after in a sensible fashion. Therefore, they don't want to lend you money, and so there are fewer lenders that we can choose from that will look at this from a lending criteria point of view. So that's worried us a bit, but we've located one, but again, that's caused us problems in so much as they won't lend us as much as some of the other lenders would normally lend us, so we can't get as much back out of the property to move forward.
So they had underestimated the reluctance of financial institutions to lend money on a freehold property with no management company in place. So how would that affect the price? I talked to 2 local estate agents.
I think they need to do a quick turnover, and I think it will probably fetch in the region of around about 90, 95 when it's actually done looking around.
It will be a nice flat once it's been turned around and renovated, so we're pleased with it, aren't we?
I think that we pitched it in from the previous chat. We had 90, 95 anyway, and we think maybe give it 3 or 4 years, it'll be one of the flats that goes up better than some of the others because of its location and because it's just got a very nice feel to it. So.
But I feel with this, it's a nicer standard. It will be a nicer standard of flat, and I feel it will be better suited more for the professional type.
Henry and Paul paid 60,000 quid for the flat, and they intend to spend about 10 grand doing it all up. If it all goes to plan, they might make around 20,000 quid profit on it. I think this would be a very good investment for them. But that freehold management company still needs to be sorted out in order for them to make the most of this property.
We're in the northeast of the country, where property prices are going just one way, and that's up. This is East Howden, Tyne and Wear, about 20 minutes outside Newcastle city centre. Traditionally a fairly industrial and working class area, and I guess the houses here reflect that. But there's been rises in the values of those properties over the last year like you wouldn't believe. We're in Chatham Street, and we're looking at one house that's split into 2 adjoining flats, numbers 30 and 32. This is number 32, which is the vacant flat. They both have separate entrances. There's a living room, which has a new wooden floor and plenty of space. That leads through to a reasonable-sized kitchen. And there are 2 bedrooms, which both need serious decorating. But there are new wooden floors throughout. The bathroom also needs a bit of work. Outside, there's an obvious extension to the property, which was probably built when the houses were converted into flats. Okay, on the face of it, not too appealing. But you know what? Most of it's cosmetic. Yeah, the bathroom needs a bit of work. Kitchen's pretty serviceable. And especially on a property like this, you've got to be very careful about what you spend, because you're never going to push the value above a certain point. And talking of value, it was time to check out what you might expect the flats to be worth. Time to talk to someone who knows. Now, Tom, you're a local estate agent.
Yes.
Can you describe the area where we are?
The area itself is obviously quite small. It's a little enclave. Primarily, you're looking at rented accommodation with just a few owner-occupiers. Generally, it's a good area for investment. In my opinion, it's up and coming at the moment.
So what do you gauge that sort of feeling that it's up and coming, and the fact that it is a good investment? Because clearly that's what's going to drive somebody to buy here, isn't it?
Certainly. I mean, over the past, well, at least a year or so, we've seen the prices possibly double in some cases. I mean, for instance, I've sold flats here for sort of nominal figures of £8,000–9,000.
£8,000?
Yes, certainly. I mean, granted, the property was in sort of bad condition, but it goes to show there's a lot of potential. £8,000 is not a lot of money in this game at the end of the day.
But this here is the one that's coming up for auction.
It certainly is, yes.
Shortly.
Yes.
First thing you notice is it's a pair of flats.
Mm-hmm.
That seems fairly unusual.
Not particularly. I mean, it's to advantage to a potential landlord or buyer per se. Obviously, you've got control over the entire building then. Obviously, you own the total freehold of the building. So in terms of maintenance and obviously, you know, things like having tenants in up and above, you know exactly who you've got in there, and you're more in control than if you've got maybe a rogue tenant in the upper flat or the lower flat belonging to a different landlord.
Any particular plus points for this particular property, this particular street?
Well, obviously, having nothing to this side of it, it's quite a quieter street. This street and the one parallel next to it have traditionally been the best for sort of investment. In my opinion, it's quite a nice street.
So what kind of price have you put on this?
What we've done here is we've structured a guide price of £35,000 to £45,000.
And your gut feeling in terms of what it might go for?
I would hope to achieve somewhere certainly around the middle of that. That's usually the way we kind of do it, so somewhere in the region of £40,000.
But just to give us an idea, a year ago, what would you have been selling this at?
A year ago, potentially, we would have been lucky to get maybe £12,000 per flat.
Right, so you would have been looking at 24 on a good day?
Absolutely. It all depends on the condition internally.
So we're looking at a phenomenal growth here in the last 12 months?
Absolutely.
Now, what about the future?
In terms of the future, I mean, I've been working in this area for a couple of years. We've been selling houses down here now since it's really taken off. In that time, we have seen a good increase in prices. And looking about now, you know, more properties are being sort of well looked after. They've got the UPVC glazing, generally in better order. We keep selling the bad houses and they keep on getting done up, so it's got to be getting better.
Who do you think is going to buy it?
Flat investors all the time. Very, very few flats sell here to sort of first-time buyers or private buyers. It's mainly for the investment market, purely due to the perhaps character of the area and the general price of them.
So this area is definitely on the up, and you shouldn't discount it as a good investment. Don't be put off buying property in the inner cities in the north. People who live in the leafy suburbs will be really jealous of the rate of increase being experienced for house prices here. Before you decide what you think of this place, you've got to take yourself back to some real basics. Why are you buying it? If it's for personal reasons, you might be living here, then there's a whole lot of different criteria come into play. But if you're looking at this as an investment, only two things are important. One, potential capital growth, as in how much it might go up in value, and two, rental yield. That is, how much you're going to have to spend to buy the property and how much you might get back in rent. And the rental yields in this area of the country are higher than almost anywhere. Now, do you feel different about the property? The flats are now going under the hammer. The guide price is only £35,000 for both of them, and one of them already has a tenant. Let's see what they make.
Lot number 78, out into East Houghton, a pair of flats, number 30 and 32 Chatham Street.
The North East property market at the moment is very buoyant. You've got a mixture of buyers, both your your local buyers from within the northeast, but there is a huge amount of investment from outside the area, especially from the south. The properties at the moment tend to be sold to investors, especially the pair flats, rather than to the first-time buyers or young families.
East Howden Walls and a pair of Tyneside flats. This is for lot 78 for 36,000. Any van 37, 38, all finished at 38. Going at 38. Take one more, sir. 38 and a half bid, 39 bid, all finished at 39,000. Sold for 39. Can I have your number again, sir, please? 524, thank you.
Phew, that auction lasted just 25 seconds. That means the buyer spent £1.50 a second. And that buyer was Alan Fennick. But even at that rate, it could be a good buy. Alan, you got yourself a pair of flats.
Oh, thank you.
Have you done this kind of thing before?
Yes, I bought quite a few properties at auction.
What kind of properties do you get?
Mainly flats like this, rental properties, but I have bought other properties as well at auction.
Mostly in this area or other places?
All in the northeast and close to here.
Now, what about your strategy then in terms of property purchasing?
Buy them cheap and get a tenant in. This fortunately has a tenant in, and I'll find another tenant for the downstairs one.
What kind of rent can you expect for a flat here?
£70 a week. Housing benefit for a single person is £55 a week.
What are you going to do to the actual property itself?
The property's in fairly good condition. I might fit a new bathroom and maybe a new kitchen, just bits and pieces, not very much.
It didn't look like there was too many other people involved in the auction.
I was sitting at the back, I couldn't really tell. I think there was only one other bidder.
You were happy with the price?
Yeah.
What did you base that on?
Well, the asking price from the auctioneer, and I got it for, was it £6,000 under, so quite pleased.
Well, look, we'll come back in 3 months and see how you've got on with finding something good to live here.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, thanks for talking
Thank
to
you.
us, Alan. Alan's pretty sure what he's going to do with this property. He's got it all worked out. But will his plans actually come to fruition? We'll be back later to find out.
It's been a while now since we visited the properties.
They did need a lot of work, but has it been started?
Yep, we went back to find out. We're back in the popular area of Didsbury near Manchester, where this house was bought for just over 500,000 quid by Yasmin MacDonald. She owns and designed this exotically furnished restaurant just down the road. She had some great plans for the house. She got to work straight away.
When we bought this property, there were all kinds of partitions. It was split into 2 or 3 flats. A massive area, which is going to be the kitchen, come dining room, come casual sitting area. And then even below that, we've got half the size of the ground floor. It was recommended to me by the estate agents to make it into a livable space. We've actually dug down to create more headroom, and we've been able to create about 300 millimetres extra in the height of the rooms. And we've reached a stage where the digging down works have now been completed, and also we've built quite a few more inner walls inside as a second skin and a reinforcement, just to make it more waterproof. And in this room we've taken down the old partition which was running down there, and we've created quite a lot of extra meters of space by taking our partition wall over to there. It's made the room so much bigger and brighter and better. And it's already got the door, which is the access into what is going to be the new bathroom. And through the other bedroom in there, there will be a doorway made so that both the bedrooms will have access to this new bathroom. With the rest of the house, it's going to become a full 5-bedroomed, 5 separate bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and 2 areas exactly the same. This area and the one above it, which are exactly the same, which I see this area being used as a study or a library or an office. And there are 2 of these in addition to the 5 bedrooms. It's a very, very spacious house.
So how much is all this work going to cost?
With putting in the new kitchen, 2 new bathrooms, taking out of the walls, etc., I'm probably going to be looking at spending between 100 and 125,000 on this house.
Well, Yasmin told me that she was going to spend 80,000 quid on this property. She's now going to spend half as much again.
But I think the space is so nice in this house that it's well worth doing it properly, and I don't mind spending that amount.
If she is going to spend that much on the property, it will have cost her over 600,000 quid in total. I wanted to know if this was realistic. Would she ever get this back? I asked 2 local estate agents what they thought.
As well, and I would have thought you're probably looking at around about £3,000 a month.
I am letting my heart rule my head a little bit as to the fixtures and fittings, and I am going for the high end of the market, so I hope that I won't lose too much money by doing that, because I may be spending more than some property developers would be spending on the fitting outs. Getting very attached to this house. We expect to be on the market sometime in January, if I've got the heart to sell it.
If Yasmin is going to be selling this house, she may not make much of a profit. Renting may be a better option, or perhaps she'll end up living here herself. Who knows?
We're back in Tyneside, in East Howden, where numbers 30 and 32 Chatham Street, a pair of flats, were bought by local developer Alan Fenwick for 39,000 quid. One had a sitting tenant, but the other one needed some work before it could be rented out. Alan had already started work putting in a new kitchen. He'd also put in a new bathroom. He was generally modernising the whole building. But there had been one problem.
The most concerning problem in this flat was a fall of rubble inside the chimney, and I didn't think there was a very good gas flue. So the fire and the fireplace had to be stripped out, and there was like 10 bags of rubbish dug out the back of this fire. And I'm waiting for the gas engineer to come this afternoon to do a CP12, which is the compulsory gas ticket that you must have for tenanted properties. Though I do most of the work myself, things like this you naturally can't do because it has to be done by a Corgi registered fitter. The work that we've done in the bathroom was to strip out the old one completely and fit a new one, a corner bath, a shower, do some remedial work to the walls and some dry rot treatment. Just, well, really tiling the floor and then that's it. Bath panel on, done. What we've done so far in the kitchen is a new sink, new worktops, new oven, gas hob, a few units. We're going to tile it, and this afternoon we're probably going to put a new UPVC door in, replacing the back door. I would estimate the cost so far for the rewiring, the kitchen, the bathroom, some of the remedial work and the UPVC back door would be in the region of, say, £4,000 to £5,000. Naturally, it's a lot cheaper if you do the work yourself.
It's all going quite well, and Alan has stuck to his budget. The flats so far have cost him around 45,000 quid. Let's see what the market...
Shields Properties. If this was my particular property, I would certainly be looking to purchase it and keep it for certainly a 10-year period. There's quite a lot of improvements going on in the area. The Tyne Tunnel, there's a new one being built fairly shortly in the next 5-10 years. That should improve the values quite dramatically over that period. Short-term investment, it's probably not an ideal short-term plan, but certainly 5 to 10 years it should reap some good fruit from.
In their current condition, once the work's been finished on the properties, you're probably looking at about 45 to 47,000, depending on what sort of refurbishment work's been done to the properties. Of course, gas central heating's been added, etc., which always adds value to your properties. So I recommend around about the 45 to 47 mark.
In terms of the property itself, I would suggest the property is worth probably between £45,000 and £48,000 for capital value. Rental value is around about £70 to £75 a week.
These properties have been bought for the long term. That's why I'm spending all the money at the start. I'll plan to keep these properties and have a sort of rolling programme of improvement as and when the tenants come and go. I hope the tenants are stocking for quite a while, but I intend to keep the properties well, indefinitely.
No quick profit for Alan, but it looks like this could be a really good long-term buy for him. And if he can afford to hold on to them, he should make a good return on the flats in the next 10 years.
Well, we hope all of that has given you some food for thought.
And we'll be back next time with more Homes Under the Hammer.